I personally felt that last year, in terms of video game quality and quantity, was one of my favorite years that I've ever had. But looking onto this year as well, I can safely say, even with like the many announcements that are going to be happening this year that we don't know about yet, there's going to be E3, there's going to be Nintendo Directs, there's going to be so much stuff. And with the games already announced this year, it's going to be hard to not see this year as another really freaking awesome year. But that's what we've been having, I think, since like 2016. Some really fantastic years of games, at least if you're looking in the direction of not always like the mainstays of games, not always the staples. Sometimes you have to look a little bit deeper. Sometimes you don't even have to look a little deep. I think last year, like, there was just so many games just thrown at us for the whole freaking year. And I was so impressed by everything that came out this year. Everything that I played was so fantastic. Up until like a few games I played, I was like, oh, this is just okay. But I think the majority of games I played last year were amazing. And the same can be said for like years like 2017 when we had like stuff like Persona 5 and Breath of the Wild. Or years like 2016 when we had like Last Guardian and Final Fantasy 15 and Dark Souls 3 and Pokemon Sun and Moon. All these really great games. But I'm looking forward to this year as well. There's stuff like Yakuza 5 that is releasing on February 11th. Yakuza is a series that like means the world to me now. I played Yakuza 0 as my first ever Yakuza game, and just like many other people, I was kind of like enthralled and entranced by this game. I never really played anything like it, and on the surface of this game, I thought it was just kind of like this silly gimmick game, but you realize how deep the story gets, how deep the combat gets, and how it all works together so well. The world that you're kind of in these games never really changes, but it changes in the ways that matter. While you're in the same place every single time, since you're doing it like 10 years later or 5 years later or coming back even sometimes 20 years later, some things are still there, some things are gone, businesses are booming, businesses have closed down. It's a really special game. And when they released the Yakuza collection, I was excited to finally get into this series of games and finally finish the series of games. Releasing Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 on 3 separate occasions, and on February 11th, they're finally releasing the last part of that collection, which is Yakuza 5, which then means I can move on to a game that I bought about a year ago, which is Yakuza 6. I'm really excited to do this, and it's happening around my break from work, so like it could not be more perfect timing. But there's other games as well. There's games like Pokemon Dungeon, which again, I don't know if I'm going to play Pokemon Dungeon, but it's a game that I played the demo of and thought was really, really great. I thought that what I played was really good. I never played a Pokemon Dungeon game. The art style at some points can be a bit jarring, but I think other than that, I probably will have a great time with it. But it's just a matter of like how many games are coming out this year and how much time I actually have. Especially with work and everything like that, it's kind of like confusing to pick like which games I'm going to play, which games I'm not going to play. So obviously I can't play every single game this year. I would like to. I mean, who wouldn't? But that's another game that I'm looking at that I'm kind of like, this looks fantastic as well. I mean, Persona 5 The Royal at the same time is releasing on March 3rd, or March 31st, sorry, not March 3rd, March 31st. A soft remake of the original Persona 5, and you guys know how much I love Persona, and there's a lot of Persona fans who watch my channel as well. I could not be more excited for this game. I could not be more excited to finally get back into the world of Persona, to the point that I've wanted to replay Persona 3 again for the 3rd time, and I wanted to play Persona 4 again for the 3rd time, but the thing that's inside of me is like saying, no, wait till Persona 5 The Royal comes out, starve yourself of this lovely game series that you love, and then when you play Persona 5 The Royal, it's going to be like this cathartic feeling of like weight lifted off your shoulders. Persona is just a great series. It's a great game. I think Persona 5 is just going to be, the Royal is just going to be just as good. They're adding new characters, new areas. I think they're adding a whole new semester. I think there is going to be new music, there's going to be a whole new story, and I think that means there's probably going to be a new post game as well. I'm excited to see what they can do. I'm excited to see what they do, because Atlas never half-asses any remakes. They just don't like to do it. Persona 4 Golden, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey, even like games like Persona 3 Portable, which was a portable remake of Persona 3, added so much to the game as well. Atlas just doesn't half-ass ports, and that I'm always really grateful for. But then you roll in again, in just a little bit after that, on April 3rd, we have Resident Evil 3, and I think that this might be a joint with Persona 5 at the top of my list of games that I'm excited for. Resident Evil 2, remake. It's not a remake. They're saying it's not a remake anymore, which is fine. I get it. It's like a soft reboot of the entire franchise, and Resident Evil 2 was one of my game of the years last year. It's a series that means a lot to a lot of people, especially to me. Resident Evil is like such a part of me. And playing Resident Evil 2 last year was a joy, like every second of it. Even though it was stressful, it was scary, and it was horrific at times, I felt myself getting into this game like no other game. A game that I played like over and over again, just trying to like get all of like, I never do this, by the way. I never really do this with games. Try to get like all the ranks, try to get all the like different like things you can get in the game, little rewards. I got all of them because I wanted to so badly. And like I can't think of many other horror games that I did all the time. Some horror games I like to just like finish them and I'll come back to them a few years later. But Resident Evil, when I finished all 4 different scenarios, even though they're not that different, I just went back into it again and again and again and again. And I can do it anytime because I just love doing it. And Resident Evil 3, the idea of being able to play as Jill Valentine in a modern setting, a new version of Jill Valentine, getting to see Nemesis again, the way they're redoing Carlos, you know, I really do think that it's going to be one of those frontrunners for Game of the Year this year as well. Capcom are on a roll. I think they should continue that. I hope they continue that as well. I think everybody is waiting for Final Fantasy VII Remake. 2015. This game was announced, but the important thing to note is that people were waiting for this long before this. This was not just something that happened out of nowhere. People were begging for this for years, and now they're finally getting it. I think not only will this do... I think it's in a special position, because Final Fantasy VII, when it released back in 1997, did something amazing. It really brought JRPGs to a whole new audience. I never really played JRPGs before that. Most of my friends didn't. It was one of the most popular. In fact, I think it was the most popular for its time. And I think it's going to do the same again. While Persona 5, I think, can have a lot of the credit of making JRPGs very, 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 very popular to like a modern audience again. I think Fire Emblem 3 Houses deserves some of that credit as well. But I think Final Fantasy VII is just going to drag a lot of people in. From people that don't usually play JRPGs, are going to play this type of game. And what do? What happens when you try something? You look up online, something like Final Fantasy VII, and what's the first thing that's going to pop up? It's going to be a bunch of different games up in the top row. Maybe you should try Dragon Quest XI. Maybe you should try play Tales of Vesperia. Maybe you should try and play Persona 5, and then all of a sudden you have a whole new audience coming again. I'm really excited for that as well. I've never played Final Fantasy VII, so this is going to be completely blind for me. I'm debating whether or not to do a playthrough of it. I think I will probably do a playthrough of it, like my first ever playthrough of any Final Fantasy VII content will be on the channel. I think that'll be really fun to do. But man, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we get all these great games. And all of them look amazing. All of them really look, some better than others, but all of them really make me excited. And that's the main thing. 2020, I think is going to be a fun year just because of that. Even if all of these games are bad, which I highly doubt, we're going to get a lot of experiences. We're going to get a lot of conversation. We're getting a lot of debate. We're going to get a lot of like buzz. I think that we're going to get a lot of the feelings that we got when Breath of the Wild came out with Final Fantasy VII, where the whole internet was playing it. The same with Fire Emblem 3 Houses and the same Persona 5, where everyone was just playing this game. I can't wait. I really, really can't wait.